Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Sherry Duckworth, and joining me today is Mr. Jeff McKissick with Defense by Design. Thanks for coming back and talking with me again.
Sherry, I think I've qualified for the toaster oven at this point, so glad to be back with you again.
I think so too. I think I joked that you needed your own parking spot out front, so I'm glad you came back to talk to us because we love having you on. We love learning about personal safety awareness and making sure that our audience has the tools that they need to keep themselves safe, especially in the world that we live in.
True. I mean, we all need to be reminded of basic things, myself included, so I'm more than happy to share with everyone else as well.
So being your 30th time? No, third time? Just kidding. Having been here quite a bit, is there anything new? Are there any new developments in defense?
Yeah, two things as far as where my work has taken an interesting twist. One thing is over this summer, I've begun doing some in-service trainings for pastors and church staff because there are a number of different things facing churches, both within the child and youth area, general church and staff safety, and things are happening when unknown dramas find their way into a church, as well as when people are going into missions or overseas or inner city, and just helping churches get a better understanding of what can happen and what they need to be doing to literally protect the flock. So that's one major area. And the second, I'm extremely happy about this, is I'm launching a new seminar series dealing with young women who are graduating from high school. So over this year, I'm speaking to a lot of senior girls and prepping them for when they're about to graduate and maybe move on to college or at least move out of the home, and a 2-hour seminar teaching them how to be more aware of both the external threats they're going to face while away at school, but sometimes the internal domestic threats as well.
Wow. As a parent of daughters, that makes me feel very comfortable to know that there is something like that available that I could provide for my children at some point, to make sure that they are aware of their surroundings and they know how to defend themselves. I think it's a wonderful service.
Oh, I'm extremely excited about this.
Absolutely. And with the churches, you know, a lot of people wouldn't think that they would need to be concerned, but we've unfortunately seen on the news quite a bit of, there's been a lot of stories about invasions in churches or people coming in and being hurt in churches, and it's just a horrible thing because it's supposed to be a safe place for people to come and feel safe. So it's good that you're out there, so thank you for what you do and for the safety that you really bring people.
Well, and so much of the time is people say, well, aren't you just kind of instilling fear? No, I'm doing the exact opposite.
Right.
The reason people are afraid, or the reason I say when you're afraid, it's because you don't know what's happening out there. Once you do and how things work and operate and how you can prevent them, fear is simply replaced with awareness.
And that's key to personal self-defense. People need to have a plan.
Yes.
So it's not a fear issue, it's a being prepared so that you're not afraid.
Well, 1 Peter 5:8 says, be aware. Your enemy travels by as a roaring lion. It didn't say be fearful, it said be aware.
Be aware, and I think that's a great tip for those who are watching today when it comes to their personal safety awareness, is just make sure you know your surroundings. What are some common myths or misconceptions that people have? Obviously, talking about it, people think, oh, it's going to cause fear. That's one myth. But what are some others concerning personal safety?
Certainly one of the biggest is, oh, it'll never happen to me. Well, define for me what it is. Because there's a myriad of things that can happen to any one of us on any given day. None of us are impervious. None of us have a giant S carved into our chest. So we all need to be more aware. So that's definitely one of the top myths. Another one, I think, is the fact, oh, it's just me or my imagination when something happens. And we write it off as, I'm just being paranoid. I'm just being silly. When it is that instinct, that discerning of the spirits that is a God-given gift that's telling us, no, something's out of place here that you need to be aware of. So rather than just subjugating everything to being paranoid, listen to that still small voice when it speaks. And that's another common myth. Another common myth is the fact that, oh, I can't predict violent behavior. I can't predict what someone else is going to do. Maybe not to the extent you think, but still the basics you can. And I use the analogy in my seminars. If you're driving down one of the major roads here in Dallas, one of the interstates or et cetera, and you see a car in front of you and it's swerving in the road. Now, in your mind, you may wonder, I wonder if they're texting while they're driving. Oh, I wonder if they're talking on the phone. Oh, I wonder if they're messing with their kids. But no matter what you think may be happening in that car, this I can pretty much guarantee. You're not going to pull your car along theirs to look in and see what's happening. You've seen all you need to know. That car swerving is an accident waiting to happen. I don't want to be around when they do, and you give them a wide berth. People are no different. You don't need to know what's going on in someone's head to be able to identify you're an accident about to happen. I don't want to be around when you do. So while, yes, you can't psychoanalyze someone, you can still pick up the basics of, this is a bad situation, I don't need to be around for what happens next. So you can, in essence, predict things before they happen.
So following that instinct, that gut feeling, anticipating what could happen, it's better to always err on the side of caution.
Yes, in my book, my second chapter says, better be safe than sorry. We've heard that proverb for years, but it's true. If you have to err on one side or the other, you want to err on the side of caution. And again, that's not being paranoid, that's just being aware, and that's being cautious, and it's being safe.
Right. And it's not being unkind to anyone. I think that's a concern too, as well. I don't want to seem rude if I walk across the street, or if, I avoid that particular person or not make eye contact.
Listen, I've lived in the South my entire life, south of the Mason-Dixon. I'm all for Southern hospitality, but there is a defining line that no one needs to cross to sacrifice social graces for safety.
It's good. It's very good, especially here in the South, because we are concerned about offending someone. But it's better to maybe offend someone than,
Put yourself at risk.
Put yourself at risk.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. When it comes to violent crimes, where would you say are the most common places for those to take place?
This may be an interesting answer, but it's wherever you feel the most safe.
That is interesting.
And what you said a while ago is a perfect example. Why are things happening in churches? Well, it's because it's somewhere you feel safe. Why have we seen school shootings over the years? Why here in Dallas, some of our more illustrious malls have had some real problems. Why? Because the have-nots know where the haves live, work, and shop. So if you're going to target someone, aren't you going to target them where, A, you get a better ROI, return on your investment, but also where people's guards are down because they feel safe?
That's very
Home invasions. I was just working also last week with Genesis Women's Shelter here in Dallas with the ladies there. Well, they've already been victimized by one form of violence in their homes.
Right.
So to me, and that doesn't mean you sit on the couch constantly, oh my gosh, there's a knock at the doorbell's ringing. That's not the case, but it makes you more aware when the doorbell is ringing and it's someone and you're thinking, well, why is someone shut my door at this time of day or evening? It gives you that extra pause for thought to approach that door with a little bit different frame of mind than just simply, oh, hi, how are you doing? Oh, who are you? And that's what we're talking about, because people will often target you in the place you feel safe for the simple fact that's where they know your guard is going to be down.
It's very good. It's good for our moms to hear that during the day. You're home alone. If you have your kids there with you, don't answer the door. It's okay. I've always heard, again, the Southern hospitality, we're used to welcoming everyone in and come on in and what can I do for you today? But that could get you into a lot of trouble if you don't know who that person is.
Oh, and I've had so many mothers over the years tell me the stories of how they were in the back of the house, they were in the shower, they were somewhere else, and their child opened the door to the stranger. Oh, but Mommy, he wasn't a stranger. He looked really nice.
Oh, no.
He wasn't a stranger. He had a truck with a name on it.
Right.
Just the things that come out of a kid's mouth. But yet we need to train our kids in a different way as well, that again, no matter how things look, they may be deceiving.
So, as a mom, how do I teach my children to be aware without being afraid?
Well, the one analogy we use for years in the Childers program is teaching children, people like the weather. Well, how is the weather most of the time? It's sunny, it's safe, right? Sure. But can the weather change? Yes. Can the weather change suddenly? Mm-hmm. Can the weather become violent? Yeah. People like the weather. Most people are good people, but that weather can change sometimes without a lot of warning. And even good people can have bad weather days. Have you ever had a little bad weather day? And the little boy, yeah. Has Mom and Dad ever had bad weather? Oh, yeah. Boy, let me tell you about Mom and Dad the other day.
And then they give you lots of stories.
Yeah. So kids can relate to that. So also these people that seem nice and friendly, they're asking you to find their puppy or go with them somewhere, also relates to a family member that may be doing inappropriate things.
Right.
The child can better rationalize the fact that this may be a good person just having a bad weather day and feel a bit safer coming forward rather than labeling someone they know and care about as a bad person. If that makes sense. Psychologically, it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It really does. And obviously, we want people to learn personal safety and awareness.
Sure.
But when it comes to when it's time to call law enforcement, where do the police play in? When do we start calling for backup?
Well, one of my biggest concerns. And I come from a family with military and law enforcement people in it, have a lot of friends, even one of the police officers I saw in the staging room earlier. He knows friends of mine. They're the local police department here, and we were talking backstage. And so many times you look at these types of instances, and people always ask, well, where were the police when this happened? Oh, I bet you they were writing a ticket for someone running a traffic light. The point is, the police are there to protect the public safety, not us individually. There are simply never going to be enough police on the streets for you and I to have our own personal bodyguards. So let's take that responsibility off of them and put it where it belongs, which is right in the mirror. It is my responsibility to protect me. It is your responsibility to protect you. That's the mentality we should have, so that if we ever do get in a dire situation and help does show up as a good Samaritan, it's an enhancement, not a necessity.
I see. That's a different way of looking at it.
It's a very different way of looking at it, but we need to look at it that way. The police is Murphy's Law in motion. They are simply never going to be there exactly when you need them to be there. And even if you call, there's still a response time involved.
Right.
So let's do what we can to make their job easier.
That's very good. That's good wisdom for people to hear, because there is that expectation of, I'm in trouble, I call the police, they need to show up now, this second.
Right.
So if we can avoid getting into that particular situation, that's that much better, because then, they can continue doing what they need to do, and we're out of harm's way. So.
Right, and again, they become the enhancement, not the absolute necessity.
So what can we do as citizens to help keep ourselves safer, keep our families safer, to provide a safer environment for those that are around us?
Well, I think the first thing is, again, listening to basic instincts, and let's, if we can, rebrand and bring back the old concept of common sense, which unfortunately today isn't so common. And let's look at things, again, it's better to be safe than sorry. That's an age-old proverb, but what wisdom there is in that. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, what is an ounce of prevention? Well, it may be learning how to better protect yourself, whatever that may mean. Physical training. Some people go after, as far as firearms training, that's a personal choice there. Training your kids, learning what you need to teach your children, because they're your children. Don't rely on the school district to teach them, or even a private school. You are their parents. You teach them. Because at the end of the day, it's your heart. They're part of your flesh and blood. You are the best person to communicate that message to them. But avail yourself to whatever types of training are necessary to better protect and reinforce and empower you as an individual, not only to protect yourself, but your family as well. If that means calling a security company to have a security system installed in your home, you might consider that. But do the things that are necessary to protect yourself, not relying upon other people or the police to do so.
That's very good. What are some basic tips that you can give people when they're in public? Let's say if they're in a crowded area.
Well, first of all, don't ever leave the safety of where you're at. No matter how good a story the person is, and we've done this on hidden camera over the years, over 200 people, we've lured on hidden camera that just wandered off because we had a good story. Not a gun or a knife, but a good story.
Right.
So be aware of the good story. Don't wander off with people that you don't know, mom and dads. It goes for you as well as your kids. Mm-hmm. Listen to his instincts. Ask yourself two basic questions. I say this constantly. If someone approaches you in a stranger encounter on the street, number one, what is this person asking you to do? Is it something that goes against the instincts? Something causes you to be uneasy? Is it something that calls for a rushed response where you're not thinking? And the second more important question, where are they asking you to go? Is it somewhere away from where you're at? Somewhere away from who you're with? Is it somewhere that if you go there, other people aren't going to see or hear what happens next? If people just ask themselves those two basic questions, you could avoid 95 to 99% of most of the stranger encounters that end in violence on the street.
Those are great tips, Jeff. Thank you for coming and talking with us again today. And if people would like more information, they can visit your website, which is defensivebydesign.com. Is that correct? Wonderful. Thanks for coming back and talking with us and helping us to be safer.
Thank you, Sherry.
And thank you all for watching Join Our Town today.